Voiceover. If a shadow ever points the wrong way, don't follow it. It's not yours. The story begins with a truth most people ignore. Shadows are loyal. They stick to your heels, copy every move, and never lead. But one winter evening, a man named Ethan learned what happens when a shadow decides to act on its own. The town had been drowning in fog that week, the kind that made streetlights look more like glowing buttons floating in the air. Ethan had been walking home from his late shift, hands stuffed in his jacket pockets, trying to convince himself he didn't hear footsteps behind him. The streets were empty. The houses were quiet. Nothing should have been following him. But the sound wouldn't stop. He kept telling himself it was his own footsteps echoing, or maybe his imagination filling the silence. He'd always been jumpy at night, even as a kid. But when he crossed under the first streetlight on Maple Avenue, he froze. His shadow wasn't behind him. It stood several feet ahead of him, tall, still, waiting. And worst of all, it wasn't facing him. It faced away, pointed down the street as if expecting him to walk toward it. Ethan blinked. He stepped back. His real shadow on the ground didn't move. The shape under the light didn't match his angle, his posture, or even the turn of his head. Voiceover whispered, "Shadows don't lead." He cleared his throat and tried to laugh it off. Maybe it was some strange illusion caused by the fog, a trick of overlapping lights, something logical. But when he took one slow step away, the shadow ahead of him took 2 steps forward. His breath left his chest. Every instinct screamed at him to turn around, to run home through the back streets. But home was just 4 more blocks in the same direction the shadow pointed, and he didn't want to give it the impression that he was scared. Maybe if he ignored it, just kept walking, it would fade. So he moved forward. The shadow didn't. It stayed perfectly still now, as if it had found the correct distance to keep between them. Ethan's heart hammered harder with every step. His arms felt heavy, his vision tightened. He didn't know why, but he felt as though something was watching him from inside the dark outline. He whispered, "What do you want?" His voice came out smaller than he expected. There was no answer, just the heavy silence of a sleeping town. When Ethan reached the next streetlight, the shadow finally moved. But it didn't mimic him. It didn't copy. It lifted one arm, slow and stiff, and pointed toward a narrow alley between 2 houses. Ethan stopped breathing. He shook his head, whispering, No, I'm not going in there." The shadow didn't lower its arm. It didn't shift, but something small and soft echoed from the alley. A faint voice. "Ethan, please." His stomach collapsed. It sounded like his younger sister Lily, the sister he'd lost 7 years ago in that same alley. The night she vanished, he had been with her. He turned away for a few seconds, just a few, and she dissolved into the dark. No cries, no footprints, no clues. He swore he heard her sometimes, in dreams, in empty rooms. But this voice was clear, raw, calling for him. The shadow in front of him stiffened, its head slowly tilting toward the alley. Ethan whispered, "Lily?" For the first time, the shadow moved in a way that didn't feel human. Its legs bent backward like broken joints, resetting themselves. Its torso stretched, slumped, then straightened. Still facing away from him, still pointing. Ethan felt tears burn his eyes. Logic evaporated under grief. He stepped toward the alley. Ethan. The voice came again, softer, like Lily was shivering. Don't leave me again. He took one step inside, 2 steps. The fog thickened until he could barely see the entrance behind him. His breath turned shaky. Lily, where are you? Please, talk to me. Something shifted deeper inside. A quiet scrape. A slow drag. Not footsteps. More like something pulling its weight with elbows, not feet. He whispered, Lily! The answer didn't sound like a child this time. It sounded older, wetter, closer. Ethan. The fog thinned just long enough for him to see a shape on the ground. Small, familiar, curled like someone lying on their side. His voice cracked. Lily? He ran toward it. That was his mistake. The shadow at the entrance snapped upright and followed him into the alley in one impossible glide. No steps, no pauses, just a slide of pure darkness stretching long and thin behind him. Ethan reached the small shape and dropped to his knees, but when he touched it, his breath stopped. It wasn't a person. It was his own shadow, crumpled on the ground, still, lifeless, like something had peeled it off his feet and tossed it aside. He staggered backward, gasping as the air grew colder. The tall shadow, the one he'd followed, was no longer at the entrance. It was behind him. He didn't see it move. He didn't hear it. But he felt its presence at his shoulders, leaning close enough for its breath to chill his neck. Never walk toward a shadow that isn't facing you. Ethan swallowed hard. What do you want from me? The shadow's arms lifted slowly, stretching wide like a doorway opening. The alley grew darker, swallowing the last bits of light. His own real shadow, the one he'd found on the ground, began to dissolve into the dirt like water sinking into sand. A voice, layered and low, spilled from behind him. You left your sister in the dark, it whispered. Now the dark wants you. Ethan turned around, and what he saw was not a figure, not a person, not even a face. It was an absence of everything. A tall, gaping silhouette that had no depth, no eyes, no light. It unfolded itself, stretching its limbs around him until he couldn't tell where he ended and it began. He tried to scream, but the shadow covered his mouth without touching him. The last thing he heard was the voice that lured him here. Stay with me, big brother. When the fog cleared the next morning, the alley was empty. No body, no footprints. But there was something new on the pavement. A shadow, standing upright, with no person attached to it, pointing down the road like it waited for someone else to walk by. And someone eventually will. Because shadows are patient, and they always remember who ignored them. Voiceover whispered, if you ever see a shadow that isn't facing you, turn back. Don't speak. Don't breathe. Just leave. Before your screen goes dark, subscribe to the Digital Nightmare and tell me, what would you have done if the shadow pointed at you?